Hang on. Desktop audio is not capturing you at all.
No.
I tested this. Now it is. Alright, we'll take
Okay.
it from the top.
Do you want to take it from the top, or you just want to cut it?
And hello, everyone. Welcome into WAFER Confusion Entertainment Review number 5. I'm MrWartburg. That's Mr. Fusion.
Hello, everybody.
So, like I said, this is episode number 5. It's not October, it's November 12th. Man, I suck at dates right now. It's been a year of just never-ending bullshit. So, sorry, it's November 12th now.
2020 has been the worst decade of our lives.
It's been so bad it even took down YouTube last night.
Oh, I know, right?
YouTube couldn't even survive 2020, man. Fuck.
I might as well go on record. I called this on social media and in our little chats off the broadcast, but I called aliens in December, and I'm sticking with that, man. I'm sticking with it.
Could happen.
I'm sticking with aliens in December. It's gonna happen.
Especially with the burn it all down shit we might be having going on in the White House. It might happen.
Yep.
And that would be, like, shockingly not the craziest thing to happen this year. Or at least it would crack top 5. But not a given it'd be the craziest.
Yeah.
So, speaking of crazy stuff, we're going to get into our topics, our little rundown here. Of course, we have our usual what we're watching, playing, reading section, which we'll get into shortly. Got some news topics, comic book news, a little podcasting inside baseball, business news, some TV news, and then, of course, our big topic being the next-gen madness, Xbox Series X and S, and both versions of the PlayStation 5 dropping within the last few days, or PlayStation 5 today specifically, as well as some news and kind of anecdotal data going around the initial launch of both of those. So, and of course, Fusion has a interesting nugget for what his story is with the next-gen consoles. I myself am sitting out until probably January, depending on stock, and when certain games like actually do drop. That's my plan, at least. So, Fusion, I'm going to kick it over to you. Let's dive into our what we're watching and playing portion of the show.
Sure. What we're playing. I picked up 7 Days to Die earlier actually last at the tail end of last week. I just felt like it was time to jump back into that game. I remember playing it at the very beginning of when it first hit the internet, and it was god awful. Graphics are still weird, a little buggy at times, but it's fun, man. So I've been playing that. Picked up Stranger Things season 1. Went to go back and rewatch that. Such a good show,
It
man.
really is. It holds up.
So, like as a kid of the 80s, man, this is like let me tell a little story about this. So, I didn't watch it when it first premiered on Netflix, the weekend it premiered. My wife actually watched it and she was like, "You have to watch the show." And I'm like, "Yeah, yeah, whatever, whatever." She's like, "No, this is you. This is what you're all about. This is perfect for you." And so the next weekend, I started watching it like on Sunday night, and I watched it all the way through until I had to get dressed for work on Monday morning. Like I did not sleep for like all of Sunday, and I got home from work Monday, and I
Nice.
crashed Monday afternoon. But I literally got up like I don't even remember what time it was, like 3 or 4 in the afternoon, and I just maybe even I don't even know. I have to backtrack how many episodes, eight episodes an hour, so 8 hours late at night. I think I don't even remember. All I remember was I watched it until 6 o'clock in the morning, and then I was like, shit, I have to be at work in an hour. So I just got dressed and went to work. But yeah, loved season 1 of Stranger Things. Transformers the movie, one of my all-time favorite kid movies. As an adult, I still love it. And I also was rewatching recently The Dark Tourist on Netflix. Really good show. Really good show.
I'll have to check that
Good
out.
stuff there.
And of course, we've got the Mandalorian to dive back into.
Of course, The Mandalorian. I'm caught up now.
Mm-hmm.
Finally.
So, as time of recording, episodes 1 and 2 of that have dropped. Episode 3 is tomorrow. So that'll be episodes 3 and 4, possibly 5, depending on when we record the next episode. We'll dive into for that. On my side, for games, wrapping up some Assassin's Creed Odyssey DLC before I dive into Valhalla. That's been a slow burn because I've been moving. Like, I'm back in my normal space, as you can see.
Yay.
I started diving back into Doom Eternal, finally, because now it's on Game Pass. It took me a little bit to, like, turn the corner from Doom 2016. The Doom 2016 was like damn near a perfect game. Damn near. Like the music, just that kind of like the lore is in the background if you search, but it's not as hard to access and get into as like a Destiny or like a Dark Souls. It's accessible without being in your face, but like everything else about the game is in your face, cranked up to 11, and it's fucking brilliant. Doom 2016. Eternal drops you like almost in the middle, like the very middle of the story. Like it's not a direct pickup off the sequel. Everything is a little more arcadey, kind of turned up to 12 instead of 11, which is a little much for me. But now that I'm like in the story and like going a few hours in, I'm like, okay, it's got me again. It's just it's a little bit of a step down for me, and that like it's not a sequel that elevates. It's a sequel that like is kind of like a little below what came before. Some sequels are better, obviously Halo to Halo 2 or Halo 2 to Halo 3, like they built and iterated and grew in ways that really fit me. Other people really like Eternal. It's just not one that fits where I thought Doom 2016 was going to go entirely, but it's close and still a shitload of fun. Oh my god, the game just rocking the super shotgun. Fuck. So good. So good. On the other media side, I've been watching some older movies. Like this last weekend, I binged the Ocean's trilogy. I was just in the mood for a heist movie, and those are just really fun heist movies.
Yeah, they're great.
Whole cast, like it struck me like the first one, Matt Damon wasn't Matt Damon at the first one. And then by the time the third one comes out, he's Matt Damon, right? Like,
yeah.
In the universe, he's not. He's still like the side character, but in the larger world of he's on the level of Pitt and Clooney by then. Even more than the rest of the cast, which is it's just crazy to see how much that world changed in like 6 to 7 years of filming all those movies, which is nuts. And then of course, like I said, The Mandalorian, which we'll talk about like literally next. And then I was keeping up on Supernatural, and like out of nowhere, last Thursday night, the internet like went to fucking town on Supernatural. Like it was 2012. Tumblr was taking over Twitter. It was literally like the number 3 trending topic in the middle of the most like contested or argumentative election maybe in the last 50 years. It overtook all that shit. Overtook all of it on a global scale. Like that's what Supernatural did by just resurrecting this dumb Tumblr fan fiction shit from 2012 and just being like, it might be canon. Go nuts. It was fucking crazy. Nice. It was just a trip to experience, and it has been since the following week of just like all like a bunch of people are like bringing back their old like fan fiction stories, and their Tumblr accounts are getting turned back on, and it's like the Super Hulock days back in the day, if you remember that, of the internet.
Yep.
And it's just this crazy wave of nostalgia, which is almost perfect because the show's going into its is in the final run. So I don't know if that was the plan, but I think they actually hit on something that's going to bring in a lot of people back to the show for the final run, which is pretty cool.
That's cool.
But we got to talk about the Mandalorian Fusion. I forgot to flip to my main camera for mine, but that's fine.
Let's go.
Fusion, last week I talked about episode 1, so we'll keep on your camera for now.
Okay.
What did you think about Mandalorian episodes 1 and 2?
Episode 1, I liked it. I thought it was a good way to keep the story going immediately after after the the season finale of the first season. I like the pace. This is the thing about the Mandalorian that I love so much, and I think I mentioned this. I may have mentioned it very early on when we talked about the last season, the first season. The thing that makes this feel such like on point for a Star Wars production is the pace of it. It doesn't feel like it's moving 1,000 miles an hour. It feels like the original trilogy. It has that same kind of pace, and it only works on in a series because of the actual how it's a lot slower, how things move along. But same pace. I loved episode 1. Episode 2, it was a little interesting to me. Are we calling her the Frog Lady? Is that what
That's
we're
what the
calling her?
internet has dubbed her.
Okay. I don't know. Like, I don't really know where this is going unless there's like some end game involving someone from Mando's past that's going to take place in episode 3. I think the Frog Lady's probably going to be through episode 3 into episode 4 because that's the Carl Weathers episode that he directs it.
Mm-hmm.
He directs, so I'm curious to see where that goes. Now, I have been seeing on the internet how everyone's been out, there's so many people upset about the egg eating thing with Baby Yoda.
That's just stupid bullshit. Like
it's dumb. It's really dumb.
Really dumb internet shit.
Yeah, you're looking for a reason to be petty at them and be angry, and when you really do, like when the showrunners and like a Disney executive have to get involved and explain it to you, it's like they're talking to you like you're a child because you're acting like a child, really.
Mm-hmm.
But I liked the first episode. The second episode seemed a little off to me, until we got to the actual the giant spider scene in the
Hmm.
tunnel. Then it picked up a little bit to me, but I just found it kind of felt like, where is this going? Where is it going? Yeah,
So, like I said, for me, number one, Timothy Olyphant, episode one.
he was
Can,
great, and I
cannot
love the
say
Sand
enough.
People. I love the Sand People, like the Tusken Raiders, having such a bigger involvement in the Star Wars universe now.
Yeah, that was just like I was talking. My dad's actually been watching the show as well. I kind of
Okay,
got him back into Star Wars because I'm paying, and Star Trek because I'm paying for his. He's got my login for Disney Plus and for CBS All Access, or soon to be Paramount Plus. I think that switches soon. And we were talking, and he's like, "Yeah, that was like an old, like, Indian cowboy western." And like, yeah, that mean like number one, that's Dave Filoni to a T. Like
yeah,
space western is like his Star Wars like whole ethos.
yep,
And episode two, because I don't want to talk too much about one because I did most of that last week, but like
sure,
the
sure,
crate dragon stuff, that was awesome. Like the effects
yeah,
of that shit, it's like damn, that was up there with anything the movies did. It was
yep,
phenomenal. And like the nuggets with like the pearl at the end, which is like straight out of Knights of the Old Republic.
yep.
Like man, they went hard with the lore there. And I'm blanking. What was I gonna say? Episode two, those spider things are from Rebels. Like they're
Okay,
straight up pull over. It's the exact same monster, exact same species, just on a different planet.
okay,
So because they're like a force sensitive species that like Ezra and one of the other Jedi, Kanan, have to like deal with as they're setting up a rebel base in like I think it's season 3, maybe season 4 of Rebels. I think it's 3. Um, and because they figure out that these little cute things evolve into monstrosity sponsored spiders that will kill them all,
yeah,
right? Like, and because they're tied to the dark side of the force, they're just all fear, all anger, like, and they
okay.
will instinctually just like go to kill you,
Okay, well that
basically.
makes sense for me because I haven't really jumped into Rebels like I should have. Clone Wars, one thing. Rebels, I
Re-
probably need to go back and watch it.
Rebels
Yeah,
is the tighter series because it's
yeah,
specific, so specific to a time that it doesn't have to stretch out into to lead into episode 4. This
okay,
time, it's a more focused lead into episode 4 because it actually ends 2 years before Rogue One.
okay,
So it doesn't even really tie in directly to any of the movies. Unlike Clone Wars, ends up literally happening right at the same time as Episode 3. Like
yep,
that final season, which I finally watched. Holy shit! That those final Ahsoka episodes, gorgeous, just
yeah,
fucking beautiful. And Rebels is the tighter show. It's and especially if you're a fan of Ahsoka, where she comes from, full circle in season 2. Phenomenal. You get some awesome stuff with Captain Rex. Like they do a really good job of bridging that gap between the
okay,
time of the rise of the Empire to what it's like living in the Empire's day, which is the only real mainline media we get in that time. That's not Rogue One, which is so specific to the fight against the Empire that you don't see like what's the day to day life like, because it's not even really in Solo. Not really.
sure. No, not
That's all a
really.
heist movie, really.
Yeah,
You know, you don't get that slice of life kind of story that you do in like a Rebels, which I really dig. And now we're getting in Mandalorian this kind of like
yeah.
what's it like living in the New Republic era. And it really hammers home how much I just kind of hate what they did with the New Republic in the new trilogy, because where they're building in this story, Mandalorian, shit, I want to see that. And then now I know in 25 years it's all gone.
Yeah, so let me ask you about that. Are they because I'm getting the they're painting a picture of a galaxy that's not very happy with the New Republic.
Well, and
That's where
they shouldn't be. Like this
that
is a galaxy that's
that's
gone through 2 civil wars in like 30 years.
30 years. Yeah, and so like that's like not just from Mando himself, but like when he's interacting with other people, and then the Tie fighters and all that. Just I mean the X-wings, not the Tie fighters, the X-wings. I get this feeling like they're just not very happy with this New Republic. That's just like the mood whenever you go to whenever he goes to these
Mhm.
these these towns. That's kind of the mood I hear, like when they're talking about the New Republic. It's just kind of like under their breath, the New Republic. And so it leads me to believe, okay, so are we looking at them from the Mando perspective of like bounty hunters trying to make a living, or are we saying that we're just not happy with the politics,
Yeah,
no matter who it
and
is?
important to remember in their politics like sphere, they're also in the outer rim mostly in the show,
That's
which
true.
is
That's
very
true. That's
much kind of like the fringe outer colony type of story where they don't really want anything to do with the inner core, which is the Galactic Core, like the Old
Sure.
Republic and stuff like that. That's like those kind of planets. There's a lot of tension there,
Sure.
which I like that they're showing. And
Yeah.
interestingly, one of the X-wing pilots was Dave Filoni. He was
Yes.
the older, gruffer guy.
The rougher guy. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, so, I dig that, and I think episode 2, I should say, of season 2 for Mandalorian is deliberately slow because I think episodes 4 through 8 are going to be all one story. Like, because we haven't seen that like Night Sister looking lady that what's the Sasha, what's her name from? It's Sasha something from WWE.
Oh, Sasha Banks.
Sasha Banks. She's in the show. We don't
That's
know if she's
right. That's
playing
right.
Sabine or like a Night Sister or like a dark side Force user. We
I
haven't
totally
seen
forgot about that.
we haven't seen Rosario Dawson's Ahsoka. We haven't
Nope.
outside of the one glimpse of Tamara Robinson. We haven't seen anything with whether it's Django, whether he's going to show up as like an older Captain Rex too, because he's still
Yeah.
out there kicking around. I mean, he'd have to be really older because he had the genetic
Yeah.
aging, but you know, like there's a lot of pieces that in these 2 episodes they just set up. His ship's fucked, right? So like I
Yep.
think he's getting a new ship, which would be dope because man, in Clone Wars and then in Rebels, the Mandalorian ship that like Death watches like the ships like that. It's kind of like a U-wing, but instead of folding out, they fold up.
Up.
Oh fuck! What a ship design! If he got that and we saw that live, like rendered in this type of show, my nerd heart would explode. It would be amazing. It's such a cool ship design.
And don't forget, we're also getting more Cara Dune as well.
Exactly. Like we
Dune.
haven't seen these characters yet. We're 2 episodes in. There's 6 left. I think they're gonna show up. We're gonna see a lot more Mandalorians because we Starbuck. What's her name? She plays Bo-Katan. She's in the show. She played her in Clone Wars and then Rebels. What is her name? I know it. You say it, I'm gonna know it.
Good God, man! You're killing me right now.
I'm blanking.
I'm blanking too. You put me on the spot now. I'm like frozen.
Katie Sackhoff.
Yeah.
Got it.
Okay. Oh God, yes.
Like we haven't seen her yet. Like there's a lot of pieces we haven't seen that I think are all going to come together in a very quick, short order. Where, like you said, the pace has been slow deliberately because it's about to ramp up hard.
Yeah.
I think end of episode 3, once they get the Frog Lady to where she's got to go, then she's going to turn around. Boom, Mandalorians are going to maybe try to kill him because they're mad. You know, because he basically outed a conclave of their hidden Mandalorians, and a whole bunch of them died.
Yep.
Like, so some shit's gonna go down.
I mean, we know there's a group of Mandalorians from Navarro that made it out, right?
Yeah, like the rumor is that at least a few made it out.
Okay.
Yeah, and my guess is maybe they're trying to kill Mando or something, and then Bo-Katan shows up and be like, "Yep, no, knock that shit off." Right, and then we get in. Something's gonna happen with Ahsoka, and Boba Fett's coming back in some way. You know,
obviously,
like he's gonna get his armor back and just go to town on somebody.
Yep.
And it's gonna be great.
God. You know, old school fanboys are gonna love that, man, because you know
him and Mando teaming up.
Yeah.
As kind of outsider Mandalorians, you know.
I was gonna say maybe it's like a team up out of necessity. You know, like they don't like each other.
Which would be very classic Western.
Yeah. Which is like you're right with Filoni.
Shit.
This approach.
Like True Grit with Mando and Boba Fett.
Ugh.
Fuck.
That could be really good.
Be amazing.
That could be really good.
That'd be amazing. So that's not the big topic of the day. So I don't want to focus too much on Mandalorian. But Mandalorian's very much top of mind for us.
I would, like I said, first episode was good because we had the Tusken Raiders, which I always want more. Like I want some more, and it really seeing him interact with them, like engrossing himself in their culture, was really cool because it just shows you the depth of this character. You know, of this Mandalorian, was that he's obviously been around. You know, and had some experiences especially with like the Raiders, because outside of him, every story you ever hear in any canon or any story, whether it's canon or legends or whatever status it is, they always talk about the Tusken Raiders. They always look down on them as just a really like a lesser group of people, a lesser race or whatever you. And so like he sees them as just they are who they are. They're just trying to go out there and survive. So it was. I liked the first episode. And then episode 2, I'm sure it has a payoff, like you said, going forward. But it just felt a little like I know the show is normally slower. It just felt even slower than I was expecting it to go. Until the
I
very
think
very end.
I think we'll look back. I mean, a lot of season 1 for me, when I was reading reviews, people really didn't like the middle of season 1.
Yeah,
Me binge watching it, I enjoyed it. Like
sure.
I think they would maybe benefit from like the Amazon approach of first 3 episodes at once, or in very short order, like maybe Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then every Friday thereafter, something like
Okay,
that, where it
sure.
would quicken up the time, or like doing them all at once, or doing them in batches, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, something like that to kind of break it up, because now this is the second season in a row. People are like, oh, it's getting slower. And now I'm like, well, let's go back and watch it once it's all done and see how it flows, because it
Sure.
definitely feels kind of in between that they've filmed it like a serial every week show, but then the pacing sometimes is like it's a binge watch show, which is very
Sure.
different. Stranger Things kind of gets that way too a little bit.
No, no, yeah, I agree
Especially
with Stranger
season
Things.
3.
Yes.
Season 3 got
Yeah.
a little like, was this supposed to be a every week release? And then they changed the plan. Like it kind of got waffled in between. And not every show can constantly hit that, this is a binge show like feel. Not every show is going to do that, but it'll be interesting to see what happens going forward. And I really hope the payoff's there, because man, the casting news is great. The effects have looked amazing, and I'm like, all right, let's go. Let's see what happens. I'm in.
It
Star
doesn't hurt
Wars
that you have this rotation of all-star directors for every episode.
exactly
I love
like
that. I love that too.
I love how they're just bringing their A game like all the time, all
Yep.
fronts, practical effects, visual effects, the music, like the ship design. Phenomenal. It's perfect. Well, not perfect in like a completely narrative sense, but it's fucking Star Wars, and it's here
Yep.
like in everybody's consciousness
And
on
it's
a
good.
weekly basis, and it's good. Like everyone's
And it's
like,
good.
yeah, this is pretty good. It's pretty
Yeah.
good, which is so much different than when we were a fucking year ago,
I know.
which is crazy. Honestly, maybe Kathleen Kennedy should have listened to Dave Filoni a little bit. Because like apparently some of the behind the scenes stuff from season 1 is basically him just like hammering down on the table to be like, no, we're not doing that. This is the show. And then it fucking worked. Him and Favreau got shit done. Ugh. I'm very much excited. So let's get into some news topics.
Go for it. No,
What were
go
you gonna
ahead.
say?
I was just thinking like thinking back to season 1 and Bill Burr just making the joke about the Gungans. I could tell like that was a kind of like you're saying. I'm sure Kathleen Kennedy was like, why don't we get Ewoks or Gungans? Let's just do like a cameo of one of their
fucking
races just for the
porgs.
kids. And it's like, no, dude. And just because of that, we're gonna have Bill Burr, take a
Yeah,
shot at them.
like that screams like Favreau and Filoni kind of like, no, we know what the fuck we're doing, lady.
Yeah, that was kind of a fuck you. That
Like
was.
let us play in our sandbox and show you how it's done.
Yep.
And I love what they've done. So news topics time. Now this is what we call like the WAFER wire. It's like quick hitter stuff. Where unlike our Mandalorian, which we might do a similar thing with like the Expanse. I don't know, where it's kind of like we'll talk about something that's separate from the bigger topic for a little stretch of time. So we got our quick topics. First one being, I closed the link. My bad. Is a little podcasting news actually, and that's Spotify going just like balls to the wall in podcast like acquisition news. They just bought Megaphone, which is a podcasting service, for $285 million in cash. Which is a shitload of money. And that's in addition to their $100 million plus that they gave Joe Rogan for his exclusive licensing deal. Was that earlier this year?
I think it was late last year.
Late last year. So which is like, that's a lot of cash to be dropping on podcast stuff. And they're clearly betting big on it. So that's just pretty cool. I'm curious to see what other dominoes that affects into the other podcast services. Like who's going to buy what next, what's going to be exclusive to where, like what other streaming services or hosting services might pop up too. Because like kind of inside the show bit, I've been looking at do I want to go through like Podbean and just pay for a year because I can afford that for a year just to get us on there and see where things go.
Yeah.
Because obviously making an MP3 out of this is like 30 seconds once it's done. It's nothing.
That's not even the hard part of doing podcasts.
No,
I mean, I've
the
done this
MP3
for a
side's
long
like
time.
fucking nothing.
It's getting the RSS lined up to put it so it can upload onto all the platforms. That's where it becomes a pain in the ass.
So that's the easy part. I can do that part. Where if you go to like a hosting service, it takes the rest of the part easy.
Yep.
I began with that because I did an old one on Podbean, which is more you got to make some shit happen. Not entirely from scratch, but it was a lot more involved, even just 5 years ago. Now some of these newer services are just like, yeah, just give us the file and it's on everything. Like, sure, I might do that. But Fusion, what's your take on the podcast news? Because you've been in this business a lot longer than I have.
Yeah. So, I'm not gonna do an old man rant, but I would want to say, like, I remember in '04 when I was working in radio, and I would tell my program director, "Hey, we need to start looking at podcasting. That's going to be a big future thing, big platform of the future. A good medium." He was old school radio guy, hard headed as hell, was not going to listen to me. And then like 6 months later, he comes back from the National Association of Broadcasters convention in Vegas, talking about we need to have podcasts and do blogs and all the online content. It's the wave of the future. I'm like, fucker, I told you this like 6 months ago. You have to go pay at a convention to see somebody tell you this stuff. Like, I mean, why don't you talk to the demo that's on the internet? Um, you know, I knew this was eventually going to happen. Just like you and I we would always chat about the streaming platforms, how this was going to become a whole thing, a bunch of major networks because of the owners of all the IP, and been spot on every single step of the way. Been spot on,
Mm-hmm.
So I think this is a logical thing for Spotify. They have the cash to do this. Jump in now, get the big names before it's too late. Get the Joe Rogan, get the Last Podcast Network, because Last Podcast on the left, they have a branch of shows that get millions of listens. Crime Junkies, I don't think they're exclusive, but I think they have a partial deal with them now on Spotify. But don't be shocked if you see a lot of these big podcasts exclusively go through Spotify. They're spending the money for all of the platforms and all of the brands, and I think it's going to happen because one of these, Pandora's not going to do it. Who owns Pandora? I don't even know who owns Pandora now. Somebody does. Don't be shocked if Amazon starts making a play of their own for Amazon Music to start, focusing on them as well.
Sirius
It's kind of like
XM.
the
Sirius
Sirius
XM is on
XM.
Pandora.
Okay, Pandora. Okay. Well, don't be shocked if if you'll see a big money play just like we see with video game streamers.
Mm-hmm.
On Twitch. What was Mixer is now Facebook Gaming, and on YouTube, like these guys and girls are making millions of dollars right now, and good for them. If there's a market for it, get it while you can, man, because you got to get it while you can, because eventually, especially a niche like this, it won't last forever.
Yeah.
Like,
Like,
I would love for us to wake up one day and see that we have 2 million views on YouTube, and we
that'd be
can
awesome.
monetize the shit out of
That
this.
would be
It'd be
awesome.
fucking great. Be like, all right, so Warburg, are we gonna start talking about vacation beach houses or what? What are we gonna do
Yeah,
next?
like I'm buying my dream charger. It's gonna be fantastic. Like, that'd be what I'm
So
talking
like
about.
but like I don't feel bad to hear that someone says, oh, this person signed for $8 million on Facebook Gaming. It's stupid. It's like, yeah, but they're gonna be set for the rest of their life. That's their retirement money.
Exactly.
That person's 28 years old. It's like, I mean,
That's like
are they gonna
winning. That's like matching 5 on the lottery. Like,
exactly
like it's nuts.
exactly?
Like it's
So it's
crazy.
like, I get it. If the money's out there, grab it while you can. And so I see this. You're going to see more grabs from Spotify over the next year or two. But don't be shocked if like Amazon Music jumps in on the market as well, trying to grab some of these big names as well. Don't
Mhm.
be shocked. So yeah,
Yeah, like for me, it just puts into perspective how much gaming has grown too. Because like I was filtering
sure.
these numbers through the biggest acquisition of the year, which was 7.5 billion for Bethesda. That Xbox just was like, fuck it, here's the cash. Like
Well,
that's
let's be correct here before you get complaints. ZeniMax was 7.5,
ZeniMax.
but it
It's
was really about
colloquially
Bethesda.
Bethesda because it's their gaming platform, but they have other stuff in the works. But like, I mean, that's how big that industry is, which is just nuts. Because like, this is crazy. $285 million. That's a shitload of money. 7.5 billion for one studio, and their affiliated ones that they own. Fuck, that's nuts. That's just nuts. So before we get into gaming stuff, though, we got plenty of gaming stuff to get to. We've got a whole bunch of comic book news. Fusion, as our resident Marvel nerd, we've got a Marvel story here from comicbookmovie.com. Marvel Comics promises the mystery of the third Summers brother will be revealed in X-Men Legends. So what's going on in the world of X-Men? I sometimes read the reviews on like Polygon and like This Week in Comics just to stay up on stuff. But I haven't read week-to-week comics since probably 2016 when was that the Rebirth launch?
I think it was
Was that
2015.
28? Yeah. Well, it
2015.
was when they made him Super Dad, which was like, that's my Superman. And that's
Oh, okay, that was 2016, I think.
yeah. And that's when I kind of like And then once they got done with that story, I was like, I'm good. But I know you still do the comic stuff. So what's going on in the world of X-Men?
Yeah, I grew up Make Mine Marvel in the 80s and 90s, and the X-Men today are just a weird, convoluted mess. You know, this whole
Yeah,
thing where they're
reading.
immortal
Yeah,
on Krakoa. On is it Krakoa? Krakoa? How's it
I
pronounced? The
haven't heard
island,
it said.
the living island. I don't know, but anyway, so they live there, and Professor Xavier is some weird being that can resurrect everybody through some type of like balls that they can resurrect their like clone through cloning and move their essence. I don't know, whatever. I read it. I'm not as committed to it. Here's the big thing though: X-Men Legends. It's coming out next week. If you were a fan of the 90s runs and the early 2000s, was probably the best era of X-Men ever. You know, all the way through the Messiah Complex, which was one of mine, or Second Coming, which was one of my favorite eras from the 90s all the way through. But this is basically some of the best X-Men writers from the early 90s. Chris Claremont, of course, Larry Hama, Peter David, of course. Peter David, most known for his runs on Incredible Hulk, but also of X Factor in the 90s. 1990 is when he took over from issue 70 to issue 89. Unbelievable run of X Factor. One of the best comic book storylines ever, in my opinion. They basically, the point of X-Men Legends is they're going to pick up those stories and those backstories and fill all the holes that were never resolved, plot holes that were never resolved. Now the joke on the headline is the third Summers brothers brother. In 2006, we found out about the third Summers brother. His name is Vulcan. His name is Gabriel Summers. He was actually like lost away in stasis in some rock or whatever. It turns out, if you've never picked up, is it Deadly Genesis? Is what it is a storyline. Awful storyline. They kill off Banshee really easily in this series. That's where Darwin is created. Basically, when the Living Island, when the original X-Men went out there and were captured and thought dead, that's when the new generation of like Wolverine, Nightcrawler, Storm, and Colossus take place. We find out that is actually the third team. There was a second team that was formed, and one of them was Scott and Alex's brother, Gabriel Summers. And they go to the island, and they were really inexperienced and very young, and they get killed really easily. But it turns out for like the past 10, 15, whatever their timeline is, basically on the island, Gabriel Summers was in stasis, like in this little energy cocoon the whole time. They break him out and he fucking goes mental and takes over the Shi'ar Empire, becomes like a megalomaniac, like intergalactic megalomaniac, and all this crazy shit. Anyway, so long story short, the headline's misleading because we do know who he is, but in the 90s we didn't know who it was. We just heard rumors. But on top of that, it kind of fills all the plot holes that we, along the way, Mr. Sinister and the clones and all, a lot of these things that were missing in the 90s. Great storytelling, really fun. Way too many bigger guns and what do you call them, backpack
Oh yeah,
pouches,
that was like the Rob Liefeld era, right?
the Rob
Like
Liefeld
just
pouch area.
yeah, just anatomically all fucked up, pouches everywhere,
Yeah, yeah.
like balls to the wall, just all masculine all the time.
The big meme from that is the Captain America
Yeah, when
with
he's like,
the
yeah,
disproportionate chest.
it's like
It's like,
impossible to be that turned, but then be that
yeah,
jacked in the front. Like it's nuts. That
yeah,
that comic book cover is one of the worst and most iconic of all
yep.
time. It's
Yep,
so
I
bad.
agree. I agree. But Claremont, Fabian, Nicieza is his name, I believe. Larry Hama, Peter David. They wrote some really great stories in the X-Men universe, and then just because of constant changes, and then by the time 2000 hit with the movies, that's when they really had to start adapting the characters towards the movies. And that's one thing why I'm not as committed to comics now, because they keep changing them based off of whatever movies are released.
Yeah,
That's really frustrating. That's because I love the original stories, of both DC and Marvel. But I love the original stories. But every time a movie comes out, we gotta pivot Iron Man to fit the movie
yeah,
because we want to be able to sell it to the person that's a casual a casual reader,
yeah.
rather than diehard fans. But it's a good opportunity to pick up something, get a little bit of nostalgia from those old stories of the 90s and the early 2000s, and get a lot of the plot holes filled. So yeah, X-Men Legends, it comes out next Wednesday.
All
Jump on
right,
it.
I'm gonna have to check it out. Now, speaking of old stuff made new, we have a movie that like I don't think you or I even knew was like being made, and it's
Nope.
done.
Yeah.
Like, and the like plot synopsis and like what the director's saying is makes me go, okay, all right, you got me. Don't
Well,
let me
and
down.
the lead is a big name too, and I'm like, how did we miss this?
Yeah,
How
how
did
did we
I
miss
miss
this? And that, of course, being that the Snake Eyes star Henry Golding gave an interview to Comic Book Movie News about the Snake Eyes movie. It's an origin movie for Snake Eyes. You know, the most famous ninja in the GI Joe franchise. What's the other one?
Storm Shadow.
Storm Shadow. I knew the name because I have an animated movie with them. It's so cheesy, but actually kind of good on a
Sure.
direct to movie front, direct to DVD front. But yeah, like it's supposed to come out in March, then it got moved to October. Now it's coming out sometime next year. But like it's an origin movie. They shot it almost exclusively in Japan. It's like a samurai type origin story movie. So hopefully we're gonna see like Storm Shadow show up too. They haven't really said much about the plot because obviously no trailer. There haven't been any behind the scenes stills. Some of the ones we have seen are black and white. So I'm like, is it going to be like flashback black and white for like almost the whole movie? Because that would be dope as fuck. Make it like a Serizawa black and white samurai movie with Snake Eyes to then spawn an actual G.I. Joe universe. Makes me go, okay. They might have found someone that figured this shit out. Because there's a nugget of a good universe there. You just got to actually start it right. Because it's not the most fleshed out world. Because I mean, it was a show based on toys. Or was G.I. Joe the other way around?
No, it's a show based off of toys.
Yeah, like it was based off toys. It was off that Hasbro He-Man era of, hey, we got this toy line, let's make a show.
Actually, and that was to be precise. It was a second wave of GI Joe because in the 50s and 60s they were like 10-inch tall toys. GI Joe.
Yeah, they were the
giant,
big,
traditional soldiers. And then when the line came out in the 80s, it was more of a superhero soldier type of theme they went with.
And speaking of movies, I have a VHS Sergeant Savage Legends Never Die. And I have a micro machine of they have their old Warthog, or it's not the A-10, it's the precursor, where it had like the shark head on the front of the propeller plane. God, what a good time as a kid that movie was. Because it was basically, Sergeant Savage is basically G.I. Joe's Captain America. Fights the Nazis, gets frozen, because he's a super soldier, gets frozen, transported into the future, has to fight them in the 80s, and take down Cobra. It's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
G.I. Joe is just stupid level cheese. But G.I. Joe is kind of like Marvel meets Fast and Furious.
That's a good comparison. Yeah,
it's just stupid fucking cheese that also works and is cool like superhero shit that also works. So if you can find a way to do that in a movie, that'd be dope. And Snake Eyes is a great place to start.
Would you consider this be the because we've had some false starts on 2 GI Joe movies, over the last 15 years? Would you say this is the equivalent to the Transformers Bumblebee movie, an opportunity to really reboot it?
Depends
the right
if
way?
It's connected. If it's not connected, kind of no. If Bumblebee had been a reboot, it would have been perfect. But it was like a soft reboot, so it kind of loses some points for them trying to shoehorn in the connection to the trilogy /5 movies. Because, man, those 4 and 5 are just so dumb. Like, at least the first 3, there's a plot line. A little bit. It's like the barest hint of a plot line. It's like a threadbare that you pulled off your shirt kind of thin, all right?
Yeah.
But it's there. 4 and 5 don't have it. Bumblebee shouldn't have even tried to connect them. They should have just been like, fuck it, 80s reboot. The toys are from the 80s. We're in the 80s. Period piece. We got John Cena. Let's have some fun. That's what that should have been. And it was damn close to that. I hope this is like the more perfected version of that, where it's just fuck it, total reboot. We're focusing on one character, kind of like again a superhero franchise where you're going to focus on individual characters and then build up the team through backstory, through interconnection between movies. Like, if you're going to do it right. Learn from what DC tried to do. Sure. And like they say in the interview here, where's this at? Where was this part at? I can't give away too much, but it really focuses on one person instead of having 20 people on screen and understanding background for each character. We start from the beginning and hopefully launch a franchise. So they are trying to launch a franchise, but from what I've seen and done a little digging, they're definitely taking the more Phase 1 Marvel approach so far, in that they're probably going to tease Storm Shadow. We're going to get, who's the lady ninja? We saw
Jinx.
her. Yeah, Jinx. We saw her, Adrian Padalecki. She's awesome. We saw her in
No. She is Lady J, I think.
Lady
Scarlet.
J.
Scarlet was Rachel Nichols
Yeah,
in the first one, and
yeah.
Lady J
Like
was
there's actually some female characters in those franchises,
Yep.
but like they're gonna probably seed a lot that side of the world, which is definitely the cooler. Like that's the
Sure.
cooler side of the world. Everybody had a Snake Eyes toy. He's fucking Snake
Yeah.
Eyes, right? He was the man. Like
Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow were the shit when you were a kid. Like
yeah,
you could have all of the GI Joe and Cobra characters, but everyone wanted to play as Storm Shadow or Snake Eyes.
yeah. Like my brother, this is the only time I've been jealous of a gift he got because he turned into a redneck. But he had he had a Snake Eyes Storm Shadow set that both had zip lines that you could attach, and they were like 15 feet. So we would send them down our
Nice.
staircase, and like we ended up attaching more string, like tying really tight knots so it could slide over it. And yeah, we would just run them around the house. Fucking awesome. And they had like swords that were like 4 inches, and like it was great. I love those toys. They're broken to shit now, but I love them.
So
Uh,
yeah, I agree. This is a good way to reboot it. And what you could do is you could to kind of get the foundation laid that Cobra is a terrorist organization, but kind of very low key beginning,
yeah,
not like over the top. We're over here to take over the world, Cobra. It's just like the roots of Cobra are founded maybe in like Japanese culture, to a
yeah,
degree or something. And you know, like you said, if Henry Golding was supposed to play Snake Eyes, who, if you don't know, from the lead male character from the male lead in from Crazy Rich Asians. That's the name of the movie.
yeah.
Crazy Rich Asians. So yeah, I really like the idea of it, like especially if it's like you said, if it's majority of it's in black and white, that'd be
God, that would
fucking
be
great.
awesome. That would be so just unique and such a cool way to start a universe. It'd be awesome.
Yeah. Yep.
So, speaking of other old stuff that's new from old, we've got some Halo TV news, which is like Uncharted is coming out of development hell and being made. Halo's coming out of development hell and being made. Uncharted in movie form, Halo in TV form, coming via Showtime, starring Pablo Shire as the lead, as the big dog. He's going to be John 117. But they had to recast Cortana, and instead of bringing in somebody new, they were like, fuck it, let's go all the way back. Let's bring back Jen Taylor. She's going to be Cortana. They're still having a different actress play Halsey, and they're having Cortana now. I don't know if she's going to be CG, if she's going to be like motion captured, like a game style engine, because she's going to be a hologram.
Yep.
So it depends, because obviously she's more of a voice actress than a, like none of the roles that I can recall of hers. Not that I want to speak to this to an extreme, have done like motion capture stuff,
Sure.
which is a skill set that not everybody really deals with outside of certain medias like video games. But that's an interesting one to watch. Like that got Halo back on my radar, because I'm like, okay, it's on Showtime. Not exactly known for the greatest quality content. They've had some good shows, but I wouldn't say like top tier. But if Microsoft's giving them the money to really push the budget on it, I'm in. Let's see what they got.
I like Jen Taylor being recast, I guess you could say, as Cortana. I think her voice is synonymous with Halo,
Yeah,
and to cast someone else as Cortana, I get that it's the idea of depth, but if she's CGI, she doesn't have to do a whole lot in terms of like on-screen personality, and it's mostly about her voice. Then why not bring in Jen Taylor? Why not bring her back? And it was a great. I think it's a great addition, because we talk about these shows that are in developmental hell, like this one, Why the Last Man, which is eventually going back into production on Hulu. You want to go full hot and heavy. Do it right. Do it right, because if you go half-assed, it's especially a sci-fi show like Halo. If you go half-assed with the CGI and the effects, it's just people
yeah,
aren't going to buy into it. They're going to be like, God, I can watch something better, like a fan-made video on YouTube,
yeah.
than
If you
this
go
crap.
half-assed, you got to make it schlock. Like you got to go Starship Troopers route, like parody.
I agree.
And nobody wants that out of Halo.
No.
But I will say, number one, the recast was actually because of COVID. The actress that
Yep.
they had originally cast as her could no longer be a part of this production, as they had to halt, and then she had to move to a different project. Contracts get weird. But I can't. IGN, same people that had the story I was pulling from, were like, yo, we saw the armor on the actor. Looks dope. It's like, okay, like we saw even on a fucking YouTube production, the Master Chief armor can look amazing in practical effect. It doesn't
Yeah,
need
it
to
can.
be CGI Iron Man suit, which was amazing. Don't get me wrong. Like maybe some of the coolest, most adaptive CGI we've had, and you don't really like think about it because it just looks so good. But this is a practical suit, and they're like, it looks awesome. So I'm like, okay. I actually like the actor that got to play him because, like, especially he's got a. Was he in Agents of Shield, or was that someone who just looked a lot like him? No, it's someone who looked a lot like him in the face, very much a lot like him. I thought he was Davis, but he's not. It's not
No,
him.
he's not.
Not him.
Pablo Schreiber, he was on Weeds and
Yeah,
Orange is the New Black.
I know. I've seen him
Uh,
in a number of stuff where he. I've seen him in a few roles where he plays as like a darker assassin type character,
Yeah,
like more shady kind of guy. And like, well, all he's got to really do is have the voice, because he's gonna be
yep.
in a suit most of the time, and I like his voice, so I'm like, okay, it can work. And it's really, it comes down to how they pace the story. Like, is it going to be set to the campaign of the first game? Is it a prequel series? Are we doing the Fall of Reach in, season 1? Is season 1 the Fall of Reach? Because that'd be amazing. Like, you come out nailing that, something that we haven't really seen beyond Reach itself, the game, but from like Chief's perspective, shit, that'd be dope.
I mean, you're giving fan service directly to the people that want to watch it, and then
Exactly.
if it's a good show, then everyone else will jump in. The hardest part about this, Warburg, is that it's on Showtime. Let's be real.
Exactly.
That's when you think about all of these major networks that are moving into the streaming platform services now, all the heavy hitters, Showtime's just it's lagging behind. So maybe this is their foray into this whole world
Because
of
isn't
let's get the
Showtime
uh,
a premium one you can like add on to like Hulu? Because it's like
yes.
Stars, I think Showtime, and
Yep.
it's Cinemax the other one plus
Yes.
HBO.
Yep.
Yeah, because I mean obviously HBO
It's
is a standalone, but
Yeah, it had a long run, comparable to Cinemax and HBO in the 80s and 90s, and then in the 2000s they had good shows like Weeds,
yeah,
Dexter, of course, were good shows, but it
they
wasn't
have
a heavy hitter
yeah
like
they
HBO.
kind of fell off, and like I mean the Stars on the other end they had the Spartacus series and its other one, the what was that, Blood and Sand or whatever one the second one was, the
Yeah,
companion story, both of which were really good. And a lot of those actors ended up coming over to Arrow, which was fucking weird how that
that's
just
weird.
worked. There was like 5 of them from like a one season that showed up. It's nuts. But so that's pretty cool. And plus, I gotta give a shout out to the COVID masks they're all wearing. Have you seen that? Did you
Yeah,
see
I saw
the
that. That's pretty
photo?
cool.
It's the
Yeah.
bottom half of the Master Chief helmet. I kind of want one of those. They look amazing. I'll try to remember to put up a shot of it here because it's pretty cool. So they're back into production, and hopefully we'll be seeing that at some point later next year, after the first wave of stuff probably comes back. So what else we got on TV news? WandaVision got pushed, so this will be the first year since 2009 no Marvel content will see the screen on TV, or well, technically if you count Agents of Shield, which you should. So IGN, you fucked up because Agents of Shield counts, and
Yeah.
then no. Well, I guess that's not Marvel Studios though. This will be the first year since 2009 where no Marvel Studios productions are on screen anywhere.
Okay.
Because technically, that's Marvel TV. Shield was. It's the
So
last Marvel TV show.
Incredible Hulk count at, well, that was '08. That was
It
'08.
got rolled into. Technically, you count those Paramount ones as Marvel Studios because they got bought.
Sure.
Now,
Sure.
like, because yeah, Iron Man and Hulk came out like a month apart.
Yep.
They were back to back. And then we got Iron Man 2 a couple years later. Then Thor, then Cap, and then it became the
Yeah,
every
so
year, at
09
least 2 or 3.
'09 was nothing. That's right.
Yeah, 09 they just skipped it, and then everyone was like, okay, Iron Man was a big hit, Hulk was not. Like there was a serious like, okay,
Yeah.
Thor needs to hit for it to say this is a thing.
Yep.
And then Thor hit the teaser for Captain America, boom, or Iron Man 2, and then Thor, and then Captain America just hit and off to the races.
Yep.
It was a weird time because we took that. We take it for granted now. Back then,
It was a very volatile couple of
because
years.
it was
I remember
Paramount,
that.
it was Universal. There was some
Yep.
issues with like financing on the Marvel Comics side. Like it was weird, and you had like people didn't want to come back. The Don Cheadle, Terrence Howard situation. It was bizarre, and then it all coalesced into Marvel Studios under Disney, which is just crazy. Like the backstory to all that's nuts. But yeah, January 2015, January 15, 2021. I can't talk right now. Is when WandaVision will premiere on Disney Plus, which is kind of crazy that we're going
And
to
then we
go a
have
whole year.
we have Black Widow in May, and then
Still,
July is the
Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings.
Ten Rings, and then
Plus, then
it's
Eternals
November.
maybe in the fall. Depends on
Maybe.
where they're at on production.
Yeah.
That probably gets pushed to spring 2022.
And then we get the moratorium removed off of the Netflix series actually next month. So
Yeah,
Daredevil and Charlie Cox, and I think we talked about this last episode, or maybe the one before that, where there are rumors that they're anxiously waiting for this moratorium to end, and they're
yeah,
gonna like begin negotiations right away with Charlie Cox
yeah.
to put
To
him
be
in
like,
the
yo, dude,
MCU.
whether you're coming
Like
to a show, whether you're
like
coming to,
don't get fat, stay in
yeah,
shape, and
yeah, rock the suit.
on your martial arts, because we're gonna get ready
Yeah,
for you.
that hero shot, and the first thing we're gonna see of him is in that dope fucking Daredevil suit. Oh God, they nailed it. They just
Yep.
nailed it on that show.
So
Perfect.
yeah, I mean, it's weird that this is the first, the first year without Marvel Studios
Yeah, technically,
productions.
because technically, Agents of Shield isn't MCU
Yeah,
technically anymore. They broke that thread, which was they could have came back. They could have brought it back, but they didn't.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm excited for it. I get why they keep delaying it, because especially with COVID, they don't. I guess they want to. Well, I'm thinking this through as I try to talk it out, but why not let it come out in December when folks are still at home? And
Possible they don't have everything done.
it's
You know,
possible.
I mean,
Yeah.
like a lot of their finishing production stuff's got to be done off site.
Well,
Maybe there was some.
if you remember, Wanda is going to be in Doctor Strange 2,
Mhm.
but then Doctor Strange 2 is also going to tie into the third Spider-Man movie now. So maybe they had to have a shift in a little bit of the story, like a little bit of the
Yeah,
linear timeline here. So they have to change a few things up on WandaVision. Maybe, I don't know, but
yeah. That or maybe
you
they
know,
knew they're gonna. Maybe they know they're gonna push something, so they want to space out content in 2021 better.
yeah,
Maybe they know they're gonna push Shang-Chi back into the fall window.
maybe,
To
yeah,
go. So then you'll go WandaVision, Black Widow, and then to feed into the Black Widow type of story. Then you do Falcon Winter Soldier.
Winter Soldier.
Then you do Legend of the Ten Rings. Then you do Loki. Then you come into Eternals, and then I think it's gonna be Spider-Man.
Spider-Man's the next major film,
And
if
then
that's
it's Doctor Strange.
2022. Yeah, Doctor Strange. Yeah. See,
Yeah.
I don't know if we talked about that last, but yeah, that was where I was confused. Is like, it's because Spider-Man's actually in production right now. They're shooting it
Yeah.
right now.
And Falcon Soldier
So
is
obvious.
almost done.
Yeah.
And Loki's in production.
Yep.
She-Hulk is in pre-production. So like I could see them wanting to do once a quarter, either a
Yep.
show or a movie going forward.
So are we looking at next year, maybe late next year, to get Moon Knight as well? Because they cast Oscar
Yeah,
Isaac. They
like
want to get that
they
thing
got to
done
get that on. They got to hit the ground running on that. But
with him.
then again, they also don't want to get in the way of Mandalorian. So like November, December's off the table for them.
True.
Because like that's Mandalorian time.
That's what now I remember now. That's probably why they moved the timeline for WandaVision, because of the Mandalorian. Because Mandalorian is a mega hit on Disney Plus.
Yeah, I saw a number. Oh, I meant to save the stat. Like the stat that like returning subscribers for Mandalorian was like, oh yeah, that makes sense. It was a huge percentage jump in November when it came back.
Yeah.
Like they dropped a bunch of numbers, and I was like, yeah, that makes sense. So
And they currently have
the biggest reason.
73 million current subscribers. Yeah.
It was over 50% back. Like it was a
Ugh,
big jump.
that's insane.
Yeah.
Whew.
Like that is big. So
yeah.
So speaking of big stuff, we got some video game news. Of course, both consoles had their new generation consoles drop. And speaking of Disney Plus, to kind of tie into gaming, Disney Plus is free for a month with Game Pass. It's just the perks keep on coming. Game Pass is the best deal in gaming. Go nuts! I believe that runs through January 2021. So if you're a new subscriber, I think if you're a new Disney Plus subscriber but you've already had Game Pass, you could get it. Or if you're new to both, you could get it. I'm out of the game because I already have Disney Plus and I already have Game Pass. But that's not a very common crossover right now, apparently. Otherwise, they wouldn't do it. So it's hopefully a way to get more people in the door for Game Pass, because Game Pass is the best deal in gaming, bar none. Especially this month, now that all the EA Access stuff's coming.
Oh yeah.
Like later next week, Fallen Order comes back. A bunch of the EA Access stuff comes online on their servers. It's gonna be a good time. I'm gonna be able to digitally play a whole bunch of old games without having to like do anything on my console. Just download them, take an hour, play a shitload of games. I'm excited. So on top of gaming news, we'll stick with Xbox for now. Series X and S dropped on Tuesday. There have been some weird stuff going down. You've got internet trolls like blowing vape smoke into the top of their consoles and then video of the smoke coming back out. Because it goes like all the way down and then the fans pull it back out. And it's just stupid fucking idiots. And then Xbox said in a tweet, like in like Joe Biden voice, "Can't believe I have to say this. Don't blow vape smoke into your Series X consoles." And did you see the videos of them floating the ping pong balls? Because the fan air is forcing out so much air you can float ping pong balls.
Yep.
Which is cool because like everyone was like, "Oh, it runs hot." I'm like, well, the air should be hot. Like
it should be.
It's an exhaust fan. You ever put your hand behind your exhaust on your car? Shit's hot.
Yep.
That means it's working.
Yep.
Right? Like that's just how thermodynamics work. As long as the console itself isn't hot, you're fine. You know? Which
is what happened in the first wave of the 360.
Exactly.
It wasn't exhausting the heat, and that's why it was
and it was melting
basically
the
melting the
motherboard,
and that's why you get the red ring. Yep.
Yeah. It was an easy fix if you knew how to fix it. One of my friends did that, and he would fix, like he'd buy them for like $20, fix them, sell them for $100, because he had a soldering gun and he could just do it. But speaking of stuff that have issues, on the launch, the Xbox Series X and a little of the S, anecdotally at least, seems to have some disk drive problems. Have you seen the videos that I linked in the Polygon article?
Yeah,
some of them are pretty nuts.
Really loud.
Like really loud, like clicking, not accepting disk, ejecting them because it can't read them, like there's nothing there. Seems to be issues. I haven't seen any numbers on like what we're talking about. Obviously, it's only been 2 days. But that's a little concerning, of course, given Xbox's track record a couple generations ago. Xbox One really never had any major hardware issues, consistently at least. Some issues with like controller drift or like not staying connected, but that was always firmware, less hardware. This, of course, seems to be hardware related.
Yep.
Thankfully, disk drives are cheap, so fixes won't be super expensive, and the rest of the hard drive rest of the box should be fine. So they can refurbish them and get their stock, and they're not going to have to eat a whole bunch of consoles right at launch. That would suck. But of course, PlayStation 5 isn't immune. Someone I follow on Twitter, Adam Ellis, posted how his disk drive sounds when he played Demon's Souls. It sounds like, I can't quite put it in. It sounds like a fan going over edge of a piece of paper. Like that's what it sounds like as it's going, as like revving that. It's like this fan is speeding up, and it's just as soon as he puts the disc in. Which is like, that's not good. Hopefully that's all anecdotal, easy fix, via warranty sends in, you just call the company, get contact support, and fix it. But not entirely shocking in Gen 1, like the first day, initial wave hardware. But hopefully something they can fix very quickly down the line if it's a major issue.
Hope so.
So, in addition, they say Xbox, they have some numbers, or didn't say the numbers, but have enough data to say it's their biggest launch ever. Their biggest launch 24-hour window was a million of last gen. About 1 million consoles were sold in the last 24 hours, first 24 hours of the last gen. So if it's more than that, you're talking more than 1 million consoles sold in, I believe it was 36 countries they were selling in this time, which is more than last. So it kind of stands to reason it'd be more. Which is still pretty cool to see that even though they got their ass handed to them by Sony in the last console, they still sold a lot of consoles. Not quite as much as the 360 era, but it wasn't like the fucking Ouya. It wasn't Google Stadia. Like, they were in the game, just getting their ass kicked,
Yeah, hell yeah.
So, Fusion, do we want to go to the rant cam thing now? Oh, speaking of, I got to show my thing off.
Okay, do this real quick. Yeah.
While you prep yourself. So this is what I got. My only pre-order for console release season was this Master Chief statue, which is like 10.5 inches tall. It's nice. It's PVC, so it's not like the most high-end material, but it's very detailed. Like it looks fantastic. I just love the updated like Halo 3-ish armor they're going for in the Infinite design. It looks stellar. This suit looks awesome. If the Halo show suit looks this good, I'm sold. I'm sold. But Fusion, it's time.
All right.
We're on the rant cam.
Okay. First off, I ordered me myself a Xbox Series X in September. I think the 22nd is when they went on sale, right? Is that if I remember correctly?
Yeah, that sounds right.
So the backstory with that was they went live at 10 o'clock a.m. Central Time, and most sites were just completely bogged down. Target was a disaster. GameStop had a really nasty queue, and then I think it was Walmart was the other company along with Amazon never went live at 10 o'clock, and so people were fighting. And then at 10:55 Central Time, Amazon went live, and I know this for a fact because I was refreshing that whole entire time, and as soon as it went live, I immediately went in and bought a console. So I figured I was in that first wave. Well, on Monday of this week, I get an email saying that my order is being processed. Great, awesome, yeah, this is awesome, love it. And then I looked at my card, my credit card. Guess what? There's a pending charge. Fuck yeah, let's go. We're doing this, guys. Message Warburg saying it's on its way, guys. We're gonna do it. Warburg's like, all right, let's have an unboxing in the background, some B-roll. We're
Yeah.
planning out this show. Like we're like, let's do this. Show some load screens and whatever you want to do. All right, let's do this. And then I wake up because I went to bed and I didn't think nothing of it. I woke up at like 4 a.m. on Tuesday morning, and I noticed there was an email from Amazon saying, "Yeah, there was a problem with your order. We're gonna try to ship this to you at least by December 31st." The fuck is that? December 31st.
40 days.
Found out that there are a lot of people that got this message from Amazon, and then I also found out that morning that Sam's Club people were told the same thing. Instead of December 31st, they were told December 17th or the 20th, somewhere around there. And even some blogger like pinged them directly, like, "Hey guys, what's happening?" And I don't know. This person used to be employed by Sam's Club on their social media account. Probably not after this one because it went viral. They basically just responded with like a "fuck you, life's tough, COVID sucks, what are you gonna do" kind of tweet into reply to, "Hey, we purchased this thing, what happened?" They did blame Sam's Club blamed the shipping companies for the delay. I called BS on that. I know that's not the case because I order a shit ton of stuff and I get stuff daily from like companies like Amazon because of my business, and there aren't any shipping issues. Besides, I also heard that the shipping companies were like, "Yeah, this isn't a problem on our side." I really think that they oversold pre-orders, just like what Amazon did. Amazon oversold pre-orders that they couldn't fulfill. Um, my problem with this whole thing, guys, is this is a compounding problem in not just with these reselling companies, but in the video game industry as a whole of over-promising and under fucking delivering. We gotta stop that. We have to stop that. In 2018, I was watching E3. I get to see a trailer for Beyond Good and Evil 2, and I'm like fucking stoked. I'm getting a sequel to something that's like almost 20 years old, right? I haven't heard a thing about it since, man. Last thing I heard was, yeah, there's a couple of lead developers are leaving, so it's kind of in limbo. Same thing with Halo Infinite. I was very worried when I purchased this console because I wasn't getting a major title with release because Halo Infinite's got pushed into 2021 because they can't seem to maintain leadership over there on the project. And I don't know what else is going on. We've heard, over the last few years about crunch time on these games, how these developers and employees are overworked, and I think a lot of this has to do with these companies are over promising and they're under delivering. Quite frankly, we have so many games that have bugs in them. Systems now. I'm not saying all these systems are bugged. I'm not saying that, but when I read from a video game blogger that his PS5, the SSD completely crashes when he tries to load out of the remastered version of Spider-Man. It completely just his SSD shits the bed, and he has to completely reboot and hopefully restart it up. And it takes several times to fix the disk to get back into the interface. We have a problem here, and I think it's just that these companies are just they're looking with dollar signs in their eyes, just promising a large section of fans that want to spend all the money, and we're not fighting back in terms of like we want better products. We want our products to be finished. We want our games to be finished. We don't want to have to microtransaction every damn thing out there. And I'm a little annoyed right now. Not for me, because look, I'm an older guy. I have the disposable income to buy these systems, and I have the ability to wait.
Oh, I lost you.
And
No,
so,
you're back.
did I stop talking?
Discord,
Did you
no,
miss me?
Discord for like 3 seconds was like totally frozen.
Oh,
You
and
were
that was the
you.
best part, guys.
Oh,
You're fucked
damn,
now.
damn.
That was the best part. No, I was saying I'm a PC guy by nature, and you know this, Warburg.
Oh yeah,
I'm mainly about my PC, but I love my consoles as well. And I was really hoping to jump in day one because it's been a long time since I bought a day one system. Just because I've been very wary after the 360. I was a day one on 360, and mine had the red ring probably maybe 2 or 3 weeks into it. I was one of those guys that had a faulty system, so I was very worried when I got the Xbox One. I didn't get it right away. I got it a month later, and but the hardware was much more stable there. But I'm seeing that there's quite a few people out there, too many for me to say that they really didn't do their due diligence on testing on these systems. Little things. Hopefully, this doesn't really create a really big issue in terms of like RMAing of these systems. I don't know what the process is with these things, but for me, I'm without a system right now, and this sucks, guys. I've canceled my order because I didn't finish my story. Basically, that night on Tuesday night or Wednesday night, whenever it was released, while I'm watching everyone unbox their fucking units, I get an email from Amazon saying, "Yeah, we're gonna put your order on hold unless you approve of the fact that we are delaying it." Oh, yeah, they just want to be sure if you cancel that your unit could go to someone else. No, 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 that's not what that's about. That's to absolve themselves from any class action lawsuits. That's what that is. That's to say, we fucked up, admit we fucked up, and you're okay with our fucking up, and you're not going to sue us for fucking up your order. Um, my problem with that is that when they put these pre-orders on their website, they said they would be delivered within a certain period of time. If they knew well into close to release that they were going to have a shortage of systems, they should have notified people. No one was notified. No one was notified.
yes,
We didn't know until the day before release. To me, that's false advertising. And I'm not saying that, oh, woe is me, because I can fucking live. I'm not going to die without this system. I can wait if I have to. I don't care. But there are kids out there that they saved their money and they gave it to their parents to buy these systems, and now they're just waiting around wondering what the fuck happened. And I think that's bullshit. I really do. Amazon, Sam's Club, these companies that have shortages, they really need to do a better explanation other than, yeah, it was delivery services. Oh wait, you're not buying that? Okay, yeah, there were shortages of units. We just weren't aware of. Where's Microsoft? Where's Sony? Why
yeah,
aren't they speaking up about the alleged shortage stuff from these vendors? Like, they need to
yeah.
speak up. I do.
They need to
It
demand
was,
better
and
from the
on top of just
retailers.
they should, as well as their publishers, and all of that stuff. Okay,
Hmm.
we should just, but as consumers, we should demand better from that industry as a whole. Or eventually, because of all these systems and all these games that are in the marketplace, we may eventually have another crash like in 1983. We're due for it, especially during COVID with a lot of people out of work. I mean, are we going to push that? I'm not trying to scare people, but I'm trying to say that, there's a lot of folks out there that want a game that are just like wondering what they're going to do next because, okay, well, I'm gonna have to wait through the holidays. Okay, well, I'm gonna have to wait through potentially another quarantine, through the pandemic. Like, this would have been a perfect time for me to play games. Why can't you?
Yeah,
Why is it so hard to give me a console, guys?
yeah,
Why is it so hard?
I agree.
That's my rant. End of
All
rant.
right,
I'm done.
back to the dual cam. So that for me just kind of reinforces like earlier in the year. I think this might have been pre-podcast we were talking. Where I was like, I think they should delay. Like
Yeah,
one of the two should have delayed
yeah,
to a free up the chip manufacturing because they use very similar hardware. Because like Phil Spencer hit this earlier, it's like yeah, like building these systems right now when everyone's trying to do the same thing in the middle of COVID, even in China where China's like if anybody gets COVID, military comes in and it's fucking gone.
yep,
Like they shut everything down. They ain't fucking around with lockdowns, right? Like they were in the beginning, now they're not, and like that impacts production so vastly that like I don't doubt Microsoft probably didn't hit their production targets. Same with Sony.
yep,
Obviously, we don't have any data from Sony yet, really, given that it literally launched today. But it's probably the same story. Even though they're a more Asian-focused company, they probably had a hard time making that stuff hit their targets too.
sure,
But then again, on the flip side, Microsoft Store didn't have any delays. Like I haven't heard any data from Microsoft Store having delays. Sony doesn't have a direct retailer, as well, at least as fleshed out as Microsoft does.
sure.
Um, but like, and I haven't really heard any major delays with Sony. So is this a Microsoft problem? Is this an Amazon learning from their fuck up with Microsoft, not doing the same with Sony? Though I think Sony's pre-orders were first, weren't they?
Yeah, they were first. They
They
were
were first, yeah.
like 3 weeks before,
Yeah,
a
they
month
were
or 3 weeks
quite a
before.
bit
Yeah,
before. But
yeah,
maybe I wonder if Sony literally told them, "Hey, whoa, rein back your numbers a bit," you know?
sure.
Because obviously we don't know the ins and outs of any of these calls or email chains that were going between the companies. But something got fucked up in terms of who was expecting what. And constantly and consistently, the consumer gets fucked.
Yep.
And that sucks.
Like I said, I thought that when they went live at around 10:55 Central Time, Amazon did. I immediately jumped in and within like 10, 15 seconds was already ready to check out and order because I'm an Amazon Prime subscriber. I have an Amazon Prime credit card that's attached to my account. Everything's just boom, 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 one click, right? So I add it to my cart, go to immediately buy, and that was it. I was done. So I'm thinking, hey, if it was at 10:54 it wasn't live, and at 10:55 it immediately went live. I was in that first wave of people. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not going to go out there and survey social media and be like, hey guys, if you bought it after 10:55
Mm-hmm.
a.m. Central Time, did you get who got their unit and who did? All I know, to me, is it just sounds like that Amazon did not have enough
Yeah.
orders for units for fulfillment, and that sounds like that's definitely a problem on their side. But if they had this whole time, if they knew this was going to happen,
Mm-hmm.
they should have really addressed it within the 6 weeks that
That
after
should have been the
after
start of the
the
month.
order.
Like, by
Yeah,
November 1, they had to have known the production number.
like potentially send out an email saying potentially
And they
your
did
timeline can
say
be shot.
it may get moved, but that was like a couple days before. That was like the weekend of. Like, dude,
Yeah,
November 1, you need to tell your people to be like, you need to figure out your supply chain a little bit better. Not like know
yep,
it to a T, because obviously it's a huge fucking beast. But like, you need to know, oh, we don't have enough units. You
yep,
know what I mean? Like,
yep.
they had to have known that. So you should have told them sooner.
And
But
but it wasn't. We're talking about just Amazon, but apparently the same thing happened with the Walton
exactly,
Company, with Walmart and
exactly.
Sam's Club. Same thing.
Like some,
So
like they,
was it a Microsoft problem then? Was it a
yeah,
Microsoft
like did
problem?
they hold back the production number and just not tell anybody? And then
Yep,
maybe because of like a contract, Amazon and Walton, they can't throw them under the bus.
yep,
Like it gets weird with who's to blame for what. But it's definitely a colossal fuck up.
yep,
Thankfully, it's a day one thing people will mostly forget about within 6 months.
yeah,
And
yep,
like most of this stuff, assuming the disk drive problem isn't a red ring of death bad,
yeah.
we'll forget about it. Like we'll just like everybody forgets about the fucking Connect. We just forget about it. We move on. Other things come up.
The Switch was a disaster on release. Remember?
Yeah, exactly. Like that was nuts.
Yeah.
Like the Joy-Con drift and all that stuff. Like, but we mostly just kind of gloss over it because it was a runaway success. So it'll be interesting to see what more data comes in by the time we next record a podcast on the Sony release for PlayStation 5. Both the breakdown maybe between the two versions, who bought more of what. Same on the Series X and Series S side. Like what kind of buy-in did we have on the two different systems? Like, was the $299 the big, like, was that the Sony killer? Like, did that say, fuck it, we're getting in on this right away for the holiday season? I don't know. It's going to be interesting. But by the time we record next, just to talk podcasting a little bit, because in 2 weeks it is Thanksgiving.
Sure.
So do we want to push to the weekend after, or do we want to go 3 weeks?
I think maybe 3 weeks
Yeah,
because we'll have Black Friday to talk
exactly.
as
We'll
well.
talk Black Friday, tech deals, stuff that went down. Cyberpunk will be right around the corner. Maybe I'll
Yep.
have played Assassin's Creed Valhalla by then, because I'm probably buying that. So it'll be fun. So yeah, roughly December 3rd, plan on our next episode. Maybe by then I might have us up on some MP3 services. Who knows?
There you go. Who
Because
knows?
payday is in 2 weeks. That'll be nice.
Nice.
And then, of course, rolling after that, my plan is to dive into The Expanse on top of The Mandalorian week to week as we run into Mandalorian's finale and then Expanse's premiere, because I want to bring in a guest, Mr. Christian Young, you may know as a voice of. I'm not going to really say who he is just yet because I haven't actually asked him, but I think he'd say yes because it's Christian. He loves The Expanse. Like him and I, as soon as I started posting Expanse gifs in their Discord, he was like, "What? You're an Expanse fan? Fuck yes!" So he's in. So I'm hoping he'll be in to actually be on the show, because that'd be awesome to have him as our first guest. So thanks everyone for watching. Thank you, Refusion, for hanging tonight.
As always, a pleasure.
Definitely for getting on your soapbox for the rant cam, because
Yeah,
I whipped that together in like 5 minutes, and it turned out great.
and maybe next time I have an Xbox. Who knows? I don't know what's in, I don't know
That'd
what's,
be
I don't know what the
weird.
future can hold. I don't know
Yeah.
what the future can hold.
It'd be nuts. Future's gonna be weird. We don't even know if we'll have a president by the next time we
Who knows?
sit down. 2020 is fucking weird.
Aliens in December. I'm just a reminder. Aliens in
Maybe
December.
by then we'll know that maybe on December 2nd we'll be going through all these like PDFs like that get released from the CIA just out of nowhere. That'd be awesome.
If Trump is throwing a hissy fit in the White House right now, why not just release the alien info?
That'd be dope.
This is a big fuck you.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
You know, just you'll be like, hey, here you go. I'm out the door. Like throw it over his head as he walks out the door.
Now that is a mic drop I can respect.
Yeah, that I'd be like, okay.
From him.
You could have taken a dump on the lawn, but you gave us alien stuff instead. So kudos for the final act.
Yeah.
Barring 2024 shenanigans. But that's for a different podcast that in my brain I'd like to do, but I don't think you'd want to watch. So bye. Have a good time whenever. We'll see you in 3 weeks for episode number 6.
Take care, guys.